Join the conversation with Coach Ray.
Welcome back to Join the Conversation with Coach Wright. I'm your host, recovery and executive coach Corinne Wright, and today we're closing out Season 1, Activate Your Power. This season has been all about doing the inner work, getting clear on who you are, where you are, what you have, and how to use it. We've talked about unlocking your potential, breaking through limiting beliefs, taking the driver's seat in your own life, the power of affirmations and the science behind them, and emotional regulations in relationships. And today we're wrapping it up with one of the most essential tools for protecting your growth, because doing the work is one thing, but keeping it intact requires boundaries. And today's conversation is all about establishing healthy boundaries as well as healthy consequences. But before we dive in, let's start with a quick homework recap from our last episode. I asked you to take a closer look at the pain points in your current relationships, whether that's romantic, professional, or personal. The assignment was to bring at least one of those pain points back with you today so that we can use that as a real-life area to practice establishing healthy boundaries. If you didn't get a chance to do the assignment, that's okay. Think of one now and keep it in mind as we move through today's conversation. So, what are boundaries? Boundaries are lines you draw to protect your time, energy, and emotional safety. They're not walls, they're just direction for you and others, and they teach people how to treat you, as well as allowing you to move with clarity for yourself. There are different types of boundaries, such as physical, which protect your personal space and your body, emotional, which shields your emotions and emotional well-being, and time, which set limits on how you spend your time with others and manage your energy. And if we want to take it a step further, energy boundaries. How much effort do I want to apply to this, and where does my capacity end? Understanding the different types of boundaries not only allows you to hone in on what specific boundaries you need to establish, but it also raises your awareness, making space for you to stop reacting blindly and start responding with clarity. Ask yourself, how many times do I react to what someone brings my way instead of responding from a clear space of, this is who I am and this is how I operate? That's what we're aiming for here. For example, if your challenge is always saying yes at work, that's a professional boundary issue around your time. If you feel drained in a relationship because you're carrying emotions that don't belong to you, that's an emotional boundary. Once you identify the boundary, you can choose how to protect it. A boundary without a consequence is just a preference. It only becomes real when you're willing to act on it. Healthy consequences protect your well-being by removing you from harmful patterns. They teach others how to engage with you in respectful ways and set clear conditions that reinforce your values and standards moving forward. So, how do we establish boundaries with consequences? In this context, we're going with relationships. Step 1, identify the pain point. And you can apply these same steps to any type of boundary that you're setting. So ask yourself, what behavior in this relationship consistently leaves me feeling hurt, anxious, or drained? Example, my partner dismisses my feelings during conflict. Name the emotion, step 2, right? Name what it is that you're trying to protect. You can even create an affirmation for it. Whatever feels good to you from what it is you're trying to protect. Name that emotion. Clarify what you're guarding. I'm protecting my emotional safety and self-respect. And then last, communicate the boundary clearly. Using terms like if or when in the beginning and I will at the end is how you want to phrase your boundaries. If this happens or when this happens, ... I will ... Do not allude to things, insinuate things, or expect the person to read between the lines when establishing boundaries. Use your words. Do not say things like, if you get loud with me, I'm done. That leaves too much ambiguity. What exactly does I'm done mean? Does that mean I'm never going to hear from you again? Does that mean this conversation is over? Have you said that before? Is that a threat? It is argumentative. Use clear sentences and language that communicates exactly what you mean. If my feelings are dismissed, I will pause the conversation and step away until we can revisit it respectfully. And you can even go further by talking about what that looks like. Do you want to talk about what that looks like? And this brings you into an agreement, a natural agreement of, sure, let's talk about what that looks like. And then you give an example of what you pausing the conversation will look like. How much time goes by? What is respectfully, right? Are we saying that within 24 hours we have to readdress this? Are we putting a pin in it? Now, you may not always get agreement when establishing a boundary, but you want to make sure the boundary is understood because that is the goal. The goal is not to establish a boundary and the person hears you and they never cross it. That's not likely to happen because you're the one setting the boundary, not them. And it doesn't mean they don't respect you. It's just probably not something that is as high a priority for them as other things in their life are. And not to dismiss your boundary, but what are your priorities right now? Think about the top 3 things that are important to you to manage, to keep in mind daily. And then consider someone bringing one of their requests to you. It may not hit the top 3 for you, but it's in there. And maybe you haven't had enough time to practice respecting that boundary. So let's not assume that when someone crosses it, they don't respect you. But respect starts with self. And if you want to establish self-respect in any relationship when establishing boundaries, then you must uphold the boundary. You are the only individual that has the power to lower or uphold your boundary. That is the job. Establish the boundary and uphold it. The more you hold your boundary, the more likely you will be respected. And anytime you cross your boundary, you're showing other people that you have that amount of respect for your boundary. So imagine if you were a king or queen in your castle, and the boundary was the water that surrounds the castle. The only way in is to lower that bridge. If you're saying you can only enter this castle with shoes on, and someone approaches the castle and does not have on shoes, if you lower the boundary, they're not disrespecting you. You're showing them what level of respect you have for your own boundary. So again, you hold the boundary. Follow through with the consequences you establish with your boundaries as an additional form of self-respect. The consequence isn't punishment, it's protection. So walking away in the relationship example preserves your peace and signals that the conversation can only continue on healthier terms. Stay consistent. This is the both of you then building that muscle together in how you should be interacting with one another. I know this is hard work, and many of you have never been taught how to establish boundaries from childhood up. You've always been an open book. You may have been a people pleaser growing up or just not given the skills or tools to apply to practice. Don't consider this practice something that's so hard you can't do it. What's hard is staying in the cycles that you're in now that take you through the emotional toil, leaving you feeling helpless or hopeless on the other end of what to do with this relationship. So, take your power back, and if you're going to engage, let your engagements be from a place of skill. Now that we've talked about how to establish healthy boundaries and consequences, let's look at what the makings of a boundary are. Boundaries are usually tied to our goals, values, and emotions. The goal, what you want to achieve. The value, what you stand for. And the emotion, what you feel about it. Boundaries are the actions you take to protect all of those things. In the example we went over with this relationship, the goal, I want a relationship where I feel respected and emotionally safe. The value, I stand for honesty and mutual respect. The emotion. I feel hurt and anxious when my partner dismisses my feelings during conflict. Pro tip: avoid establishing boundaries when emotions are high. These are things you want to establish with a clear head, or they may come out being unhealthy. An unhealthy example would be, if you bring up something that upsets me, I'm going to shut down. Why is this unhealthy? Well, number one, instead of protecting your emotions, you're avoiding them, which creates distance, escalates tension, and leaves issues unresolved. And neither of those are your goal. If this is your go-to behavior, it's more likely that way because either you haven't developed the skills to establish healthy boundaries or have effective communication yet. Maybe you haven't had the tools to start practicing those skills and the space to practice them in at the same time, or maybe your self-awareness is not as high about how you handle those kinds of conflicts. There could be a lot of reasons why you're not approaching it this way, but remember, the same energy you apply to negative conversations can be flipped on its head with you applying these skills. So if you're going to have the conversation anyway, why not allow it to come from a place with more control and more positive outcome? Boundaries are not ultimatums. They are bridges to clarity. Be clear and specific. Focus on your actions and not their behavior. Focusing on their behavior looks like, you always overwhelm me with texts. This makes the boundary about their actions, which could feel like blame or trigger defensiveness, and that's starting you off on the wrong foot. Focus on your action. Same scenario. I need time to decompress after work. I'll respond to your texts when I have time to recharge. That sets the tone for you needing something and you communicating how you will give the other person what they may need, instead of you making it about them or what they're doing to you. It's more so about, I need this, and this is how I'm going to move to get it. This makes the boundary about what you will do, which communicates your limit without attacking. Healthy consequences are not punishment. Healthy boundaries are not punishment. Boundaries require consequences to be respected. The benefit of having healthy boundaries in place are many. Reduce resentment, improve communication, and protect your growth. They allow you to lead without losing yourself. Free up your voice, which prevents suppressed emotions. They make space for others to understand you. And they make space for you to understand others and their boundaries. This week, pick one area in your life where your boundaries might have been blurred. Get clear. Define what's okay, what's not okay, what needs to change, then follow through. Boundaries aren't about control, they're about clarity. And clarity is what keeps your growth intact. If you need help with thinking through how to communicate your boundaries, download my complimentary Establishing Healthy Boundaries and Consequences handout with examples of communicating time, relationship, energy, and physical boundaries, including healthy consequences versus unhealthy consequences. You'll find the link in the description of this video. That wraps up this season, but our conversation doesn't end here. If you're a leader seeking support for regulating your emotions and managing your well-being, check out my monthly Executive Wellness audio newsletter here on YouTube. If you're someone looking to unwind and fill your headspace with positive language, check out my Healing Space Affirmation Songs playlist. And if you're someone who wants to understand your emotions better, stop letting them run the show, and learn practical tools to stay grounded while feeling more in control of your life, check out my upcoming playlist, Mind Your Feelings, where you'll find simple, powerful tools to help you manage your emotions in real time. Remind you of who you are and how to use your personal power in positive ways. Because when you learn to mind your feelings, you gain clarity, resilience, and the ability to respond with intention instead of reacting to impulse. Mind Your Feelings will be launching this October. Until then, stay grounded.
Stay a while and subscribe.